Before we begin, I want to offer a serious content warning. This episode contains detailed discussions of domestic violence, including physical, emotional, and psychological abuse. My guest bravely shares her story, and it includes some of the most devastating experiences that I've heard. Please take care while you are listening, and if you are in an unsafe situation or need somebody to talk to, please know that you are not alone. The Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 800-799-7233, or you can text START to 88788. The hotline was a life-saving resource in my own story, and I deeply encourage anybody listening who might need help to reach out. Additional resources will be in the show notes. All right, friends, welcome back to Healedish. I am here with Alissa today, and she was one of the first people to submit her story on the Google form and who I had reached out to because I just thought that our stories were so similar. We both went through domestic violence, so trigger warning that will be talked about in this episode. And Disney was also a big part of both of our stories, so I thought it would be really cool to have her on and just connect and share her experience. So welcome, Alissa. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
I know you have such a story. So just wherever you want to start off, what was it like growing up? How did you end up getting into this relationship?
All right, good. Well, hello everybody, all the listeners of Healedish. I am so excited to speak with you today, and I hope that whoever hears my voice and whenever time you hear it, that it's the right thing for you. I grew up my mom was divorced, and she did get remarried when I was like 8 years old. And my stepdad was, now that I look back on it, he was classic narcissist, and very, very mentally abusive to her and me, but not physically really at all. But yeah, we lived with him until I was like 18 and moved out of the house. But I had a boyfriend in high school, one boyfriend, and he was like my everything. There was no abuse at that point. I guess my point is I did not grow up with physical abuse. I didn't even know really what that looked like, and I never talked about it. It was never anything that was ever a discussion. And so, the young relationship I had from 15 to 20 was my only, one growing up. Did all the things physically and, romantically. I thought this is the person, and then he broke up with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I put my life on hold for you. Like, I didn't apply to college or anything because I thought I was going to stay where he lived and everything. But I think I was chasing love through college. And I just found myself to be very available to any guy that I would date, any guy that would give me attention. At some point I realized, I kind of thought, oh, I'm never going to meet the guy. And I think I was like 26 years old. And then lo and behold, I found my first kind of serious boyfriend after high school. And he wasn't even my type when I met him. He was not textbook hot, tall guy that I was looking for, And
what was it that drew you to him?
We had mutual friends, and he just kind of wore me down, I would say,
persistence.
Persistence, right? Persistence. And honestly, he came over one time. I think I wasn't really interested with him, and then he came over and brought a 6-pack of beer and an astrology book, and we sat outside and read about our signs, and I was like, this guy is kind of cool. He had some charisma. He could dance like crazy good. So, and then I remember we all went out to the club one night, and he came and met us, and then it was like basically over after that. Like, I saw him dance, then he kissed me, and it was like lights out. Like,
yeah.
Not talking to anybody else. So Yeah, we just got very quick into it. At the time, a girlfriend of mine was living with me, and the same day I kind of bonded with him, she found out she was pregnant, and so basically, like, our lives just split 180 degrees difference, right? Because
Yeah.
she was going to have the baby, and she was really calming down and stuff, and then I was meeting him, and we were going out and drinking and partying and stuff. So
Did she end up moving out?
yeah, she did. She moved out. They didn't get along, so
Ooh, why didn't they get along?
I don't recall why, but he had lots of strong opinions about things. At the time, I think she wasn't quite sure who the father was. And I think he had some strong opinions about her decision to not talk to, the father.
Yeah.
So I'm quite sure he was really insensitive looking back on that,
Yeah,
And-
very blunt
Yeah.
and maybe inserting his opinion.
Right, for sure. So, I mean, that was kind of like the first cutting away of like anybody in my life before him.
Yeah.
My mom did live with me. She's lived with me for most of my life. So, that was a good relationship at first. He really charmed himself with her, but over time it was very contentious. Often I was at odds with my mom about my relationship with him. But yeah, so let's see. In that first summer, so I got fired from the job that I was at when I first met him, like about 6 weeks into it. And we just kind of had this like summer of love, like where we ate ramen noodles and we played Uno and dominoes and swam. And it was like a blur.
Your own bubble.
Yeah, it was a bubble. Made friends with his friends. It was suddenly I was in his life, because like I
Yeah.
said, my friend with my girlfriend that I like did everything with, she was gone. So I was in his life and everything. I ended up getting pregnant. So
During that summer?
yeah,
Okay.
I had never been pregnant before.
Yeah.
And I knew that he had a young child, a son. I never saw him interact with this son at all. And he told me that the mother, there was some problems. Oh my gosh, I forgot. It's funny how you get like recalls, like when you're
Yes.
talking about the story. So, red flag.
I know, looking back.
He was in anger management classes when I met him for this charge that he got that he completely didn't deserve, and
They never do.
They never do. And I even took him down to his classes, and he had to pay $20 each time he goes. And guess who paid for it? I would
my
pay for
gosh.
it. Like, oh my gosh, I just like
Yeah, and do you remember the details of why he said he needed this?
I don't remember the details. I just knew that it was something about, his ex. And like I said, at the time truly, he was the first experience I ever had with domestic violence. Like, that wasn't even on my radar of things. Like, I didn't do
be
a background
concerned about.
check. It wasn't anything. I had never felt unsafe with a man before like that. Like, yes, some had been reckless with my heart and said mean things to me, but not anything dangerous. And so, yeah, he was in anger management classes, but it wasn't really something that I really thought too much about. And like I said, we were in a bubble, and I just didn't. I didn't know better. You know? And
So
I'm
how
quite
did he
sure-
react to you finding out that you were pregnant?
Very bad. Yeah, it was really bad. So, yeah, he basically said that. I mean, he had really moved in with me within about 2 weeks. He had a very, very, very contentious relationship with his mother. She would always yell at him. I mean, it's like I don't know if you've heard about the term of being adored and ignored is like a classic symptom of a narcissist.
Oh, yes.
Narcissistic.
I haven't heard it phrased that way, but I know the principle of
Yeah,
that.
I didn't make that up, but wherever I read it, I was like, the light bulb came on, because that's how he was with his mother. Like, nobody was good enough for him. Like, he was on such a pedestal, but he could never do good enough to get the attention that he felt he needed, and it was just that was classic for him. And so he was always fighting with his family, and unbeknownst to me, in the background, his family was the one keeping his young son, who was only like 6 months old. I didn't even know this.
Wow, so really a baby.
Really a baby.
Which
really
is probably why he was not thrilled to find out, because it doesn't sound like he was taken care of.
He was not at all. And so, of course, it's my first pregnancy. I was 26 at the time, 2007. Yeah, I was 26. And I'm thinking, I've graduated college. I love this guy. I think we're going to be together forever. And isn't this, it's maybe not the best time, but we can work with this, And actually, no. I mean, he was adamant that I was ruining his life. Everything was about him, about ruining his life.
Were you shocked when he said that? So when you presented it to him, were you expecting, obviously some shock, but you weren't expecting him to act that vicious? Was that his immediate reaction, was just anger?
Yeah, very, very, very selfish. I mean, just this man never put anybody else above himself, like before himself.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I ended up getting pregnant 4 times with this guy. Okay, so
yeah,
you're not talking to somebody who learned her lesson the first time. But with, and I ended up terminating that pregnancy. So it's very hard for me to talk about. In fact, I've written a little ebook myself about it, because I think a lot of women, survivors of domestic violence, just women in general, there's a lot of concern and just a lot of sympathy for miscarriages and losing a child, that way, which I had a miscarriage as well. So I certainly understand that. But then I think that there's also, the thought is like, well, you chose to have the abortion, so we don't feel bad for you. But, in my case, I really had no choices. I felt like I was forced to do it. It was the most awful experience. He dropped me off at the clinic and walked me in the door and then just left me. And I sat in the waiting room and I had the procedure and I was alone. And then he picked me up afterwards and I laid down in the back of his car and then he did some errands and he drove around for like an hour. And I laid in the back of his car. He had to meet his mom for something, I remember. And he was like, stay down so she doesn't see you. And
how dehumanizing. It's like you feel like you're cargo back there when you're going through something so traumatic. And I think, I do believe in, everybody can believe what they want, but I believe in a woman's right to choose. But the thing is, you didn't choose that, really. You were in a place where this was something that you would have welcomed had you had a different reception. So that grief that you feel is so real. And I do want to link your ebook in the show notes. Yeah, that way people can have that. Because I think,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have been in similar circumstances where they feel like they were almost bullied into making a choice that they didn't want to make.
Right. Somebody might say, well, of course you had a choice, but you just really cannot say until you're sitting there. And, I still was firmly in the fog that I firmly believed that he loved me and I loved him and I was going to work to make this work and we would come out of this, but I was very upset and I disassociated so much that And that's part of my book, A Whispers of Regret, because I talk about how truly sometimes I forget it even happened. So he dropped me off at home and then just left me, just dropped me off. And I don't even know where he went about. And I was just a shell, you know.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Shortly thereafter, I got a job, like a real big girl job, which I was excited about. And probably the first, people are going to be like, that wasn't the first thing that told you that you should run. But I guess as far as like physical violence, the first thing, I mean, because clearly that was like emotionally like tragic.
Yeah. And how did that affect your relationship? Do you feel like, I don't know, how did that affect your relationship going forward and how you viewed it? Did you still feel like you guys were kind of in a decent place, or were you just so in your grief that you weren't thinking about leaving?
I think it just, times were hard, right? I needed a job, and I mean, it was like, I remember it was in 2008, so it was like when gas prices just soared, and we could barely scrape enough for, you know, a gallon of gas and a pack of cigarettes or something. And I think it was just like, I'm not answering your question well. Part of it is that I just don't remember how that
that's
affected my
valid.
relationship. I know that I probably never felt safe with him from that point on. I mean, with my emotions and my feelings, how could I be safe with him?
Yeah.
But when I got the job, at my full-time job, like using my degree, I remember it was a very like joyous moment for me. And you know, on a parallel track, he was always looking for a job. He could never keep a job, right? He's really, really bad temper, popped off all the time, mouthed off, like, you know, it just, how many times I went and picked him up from a job, it just mind-blowing to me. But he actually got turned down for a job like the same day. And so it was sad for him, right? And I wasn't there for him. I was more excited about me getting my job. And he was so mad, and I remember then he went out to his car and punched his fist through his window of his car.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, and I don't remember what all led up to it. It wasn't like, screw you, you got a job. Psh, you know, I mean, it was always something else. And a lot of it was always also triggered by his fights with his mom and his family, which I was never brought in on because they didn't approve of me. And so I was always kind of outside of that. I didn't know all was going on behind on that side of the family. But yeah, so he punched his fist through the window, and then of course suddenly I'm like Nurse Nightingale. I'm like, take care of him. Yeah. I nurse him. I wash his wounds. I get the Band-Aids and I fix him up. And you know, it was like I just suddenly like went into that mode.
Yeah, which is the intention, to make it flip
About
back
him.
to him, you know, because this is the most textbook stuff. And I don't know, have you read Why Does He Do That?
Yes.
I feel like most people have who've
I know.
left abusive relationships once they've like really tried to figure out what the heck they went through. And it reminds me so much of my story with, you know, whenever something good was happening, that's when he would kind of lose it.
Right.
You know, so you getting this
holiday,
job.
every good event, it always goes back to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. He couldn't handle you succeeding when he was not succeeding in that moment.
Exactly.
It's too much. But by punching this thing, he has made himself the victim, and now you're going to take care of him. And it is all shifted back to focus on him.
Exactly. And I would say that's probably like the first, that was about, we went in March, that was probably in September. So 5-6 months into our relationship was like the first time that I remember seeing like actual violence. And I know from like what I feel like Grace talks about this a lot. Grace Stewart.
Love her. I'm going to have her on at some point. She agreed.
Nice.
So
Yay, because that's the first time I heard your story was on her show. But she talks about how it doesn't have to be hitting you to be physical violence. Like if you feel unsafe, then that's physical violence.
yeah,
right?
because it's
him
threatening
punching-
you in a physical way or making you feel unsafe.
Right. Or him just punching that windshield was an unsafe moment for me. So I look back on that now and I would say that's probably the first instance of violence that I experienced with him. But it didn't run. It made me run to him more. You know. So yeah, so then I took this job and it was working 12-hour shifts, rotating days and nights, which was always fun because when you're in a live-in situation with a narcissist, they can never respect your schedule. We had one car because his car was, wrecked, really. He couldn't afford to get it fixed. I don't think his parents got it fixed for him. So we had one car. At that time, he and I moved out to our own apartment. So it was just us together by ourselves, which was really a dangerous time, and that's what they want. They want to get you by yourself. And I would I would work 12 hours. He would be up vacuuming during the day when I'm trying to sleep on nights, or, he would go out drinking and partying all night while I'm at work. And, he would keep me on the phone all night long. Now I make posts about this and I talk about it all the time. Literally, if I never get another phone call in my life, I'm happy. Like, I hate seeing missed calls on my phone, because I get so triggered from remembering having 40, 50, 60 missed calls, on my phone. So that it was a really hard time. He would be late picking me up and, 12-hour shifts. I mean, that's hard. He could never do that work that I did too,
Yeah. And
think,
sharing a car with your abuser is such a nightmare. I mean, because
seriously.
everything is so dependent on them keeping to their word and letting you also have the car or dropping you off. Like, you're so dependent on their moods.
Right.
So you feel like you have to cater to them just to go to work.
Right. And I don't know what is it about generally these guys where they are going to attract educated, smart women who have a car, have a house to live in, they have a job. And both of the men in my story, in my background, did not have a place to live. They did not have a car. They did not have a job. Like, oh my God, I don't know what is wrong with this. I've been single 5 years now.
I think it has to do with, it makes them feel good that they pulled you. Like, I'm good enough to get a girl like that who's educated and has a job and kind of has it together, because it just makes them feel good about themselves in a way. But they're also threatened by it at the same time.
I know. I don't get this. They're so threatened by it, but they're happy to let you pay for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
They're happy to. So yeah, we were together. Let's move right along. And then come March or so of the next year, I think, yes. Then I got pregnant again. And that baby, that one ended up in a miscarriage. That was a silent miscarriage. Excuse me. It was like the next fall. It was almost a year later. And so a silent miscarriage, anybody who's not aware, is like your body, rejects the baby, but you don't actually like bleed and have the, the miscarriage part. So I went to the 12-week appointment and the baby only measured 10 weeks. So I had lost it, and then I had to have one of those procedures to, have it taken care of. And I mean, I remember like that weekend, he insisted that we go out. Like we went out drinking, like down on Beale Street. We used to live in Memphis. And I was just such a wreck. And he just could not accept the fact that I was upset about the fact that I had this miscarriage. But he was just living life very happy. And it was really hard. It was very, very hard for me. Again, didn't care about my emotions or anything like that. And then,
Yeah, that's so traumatic. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It was hard. And so then I guess on the other side, like, he did end up getting to see his son in that year's time. Yeah, and I still don't know all the details on the timeline of how and why that happened. It's I think it was a protection order that expired like after a year or so, that included the child on it, and so then he was resumed his ability to see him. And so we actually ended up having him often over at the house. So like a couple times a week he would stay over. And so he was only like 2 at the time. So I really got to, care and grow to love him, of course. And that was always fine. But yeah, he kept us he kept me and his family and his child's mother very, very separate. I'm sure that was by design.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had any conversations with her or anything like that.
No, not at the time. Now she and I are in conversation. Aww. So we've talked a few times. She's, poor thing, he was so traumatic and horrible with her while she was pregnant. I mean, the things that she tells me now, this guy has 25 years of abuse towards women. I mean, this is just, another little rant of mine is just our country's mismanagement of the court system with these cases. The escalation and
not taking it seriously
enough. Taking it seriously. They don't take you seriously until you're stuffed in a bag. I mean, you know what I mean, though?
No, it's true. And I had somebody on recently, and she was stalked, and that was so mishandled too, where he pretty much got off scot-free. And it's like, they don't want to do anything until they basically take your life. I mean, it's so horrible that they don't take these things more seriously, because they're serious, obviously.
Serious.
So often these do result in larger crimes.
Exactly. It's so serious. And I would say I have a heart for, like, I wish there was a way to make it easier to look up somebody's background. Like, the fact that it's so hard and you have to pay for it, it just it blows my mind. And even when you look it up, it depends on what state you're looking at and what search engine you've used and stuff. But anyways, honestly, I wouldn't have done a background check. This wouldn't have saved me, but I'm hoping it can save anybody else in the future. Please get a background check.
Yes.
Please pay the $39.99.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
So during this time, was he obviously he was probably being emotionally abusive, but had it escalated to even more physical abusive incidences?
Yes. So sorry, in that year between my abortion and the miscarriage, when we moved to our own apartment, there was one specific instance that I recall definitely. It was like I had come home from work that morning, and he was in bed or whatever, had worked all night, and there was something that I was upset about, and I remember like standing at the bedroom door being like, what kind of man are you? Like, how is this a man or something? And that would piss him off. Like, if you question their masculinity or or shush him, he would just fly off the handle if I shushed him, because he was so loud. He had a really booming voice. But anyways, he came out the bedroom and like charged at me and headbutted me. And I had never been headbutted before. It was faster than I could even like believe it, and I didn't even feel it. But he popped my head open, and I fell back, and I just remember like not really realizing what had happened. And then he was like, oh my God, like, you're bleeding. And so I went to the bathroom and I could see that, it's like right here above my eyebrow. And suddenly he starts bawling his eyes out, like crying, like I don't even know, it's bad, like a baby. And then he goes to get a kitchen knife and goes to the bathroom and goes to put it up to his face, like he's going to cut his own face now.
Let's make it even so that,
like I feel so horrible. I'm going to cut my face now. And I just remember, like, I had, like, toilet paper on my face, and I'm crying, and I'm like, no, please don't do that. I love you. It's okay. I forgive you. I'm, like, saying all the things to, like, get him to put the knife down, and it was just so tragic. I mean, sounds like a bad Lifetime movie.
No, but it's so textbook, because my ex would do the same thing. Fall to the floor crying. I remember one thing he would do would be to say, I'm going to call the cops on myself. I'm going to call the cops and they're going to come and take me. And at the time we had this dream, which, oh Lord, this man should never be a father, but we had this dream to adopt because he had been adopted. And I remember thinking, well, if you call the cops, like, we would never get approved for adoption. So don't call the cops.
Yeah, no, sure. Yes. Definitely trying to look out for him. So I did not call the cops. But I knew that I needed stitches. It was more than I could, like, butterfly Band-Aid. So he took me, I remember we were sitting on the couch and I had him call my mom, and we made up a story that we were running around the kitchen island and I slipped on the floor and I hit my head on the counter. And that was the story we went with. And
do you think your mom believed you?
I don't know. I think she, I don't know. I think she probably believed me in the moment. I mean, he was pretty charismatic, like I said. I don't think she had ever witnessed him being aggressive with me, like physically like that. So I'm not sure. But we went across the street to the urgent care, and yeah, I just remember. I remember the nurse, like, came out to the waiting room, and I remember her looking to see what, because we said, oh, I have a head wound, and she came out to look at me, and I remember her looking at him saying, what happened to her? And because they know.
Yeah.
They know. And we told them what happened, and she asked if I ever lost consciousness, and we said no. And so we just waited. And then I went to the back, and I had to get 9 stitches. And I just remember him in there talking about the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles with the doctor who was sewing me up. And he was just, like, making light. They were laughing. And I think I just floated outside of my body. Like, you know what I mean? I was it was the cringiest moment, like, to have him laughing and joking while he knows what he just did. And looking back, oh my God, I wish so badly that, like, on the intake form that I had written, like, call 911 or something, because he wouldn't leave me alone. And that's another textbook thing, I think, like, when
he has to control the narrative.
Injured. Yeah, exactly. So he wouldn't leave me alone. He he drove me there, and he stayed with me and stuff. So I don't know, man. It's hard to, like, look back and wish you had done something different, but in the moment, I think that's what I was thinking. Like, if I had thought straight without attracting too much attention from him, that's probably how I might have done it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did you move forward from there?
I just, there's, like, this, I don't know. It's like this pain, love is pain, or type mentality, maybe thing, where you, like, you're in the struggle together, and you
both have this little secret now.
Yeah,
that kind of, like, bonds you in a really messed up way.
It was a major trauma bond. That and just a lot of other things that we all the other hard things that we experienced. And then you're living together, and your life just becomes so enmeshed. And so just the thought, I'm sure that I couldn't imagine my life without him. And yeah, so I stayed with him, it was, I mean, of course, then after that, then you go through the cycle where he's great and he's really attentive and loving and taking care of you. And I just remember, like, out of the blue, sometime he'd start crying, like so upset about what he had done to me or something, because where I worked, you had to wear a hard hat, and it's like I had to be off for a few days because I couldn't because of my stitches and stuff. So he was like, "Oh, I feel so bad what I've done to you," and it's just drama. It's just,
And it's like, it's okay.
yeah. I love you. It's okay. You didn't mean to do it. And so yeah, we ended up getting pregnant again. And this time he was like, we're gonna, it's gonna be good. You're gonna keep the baby, and it's gonna be great, and yada yada. And so I just really thought things would be like, I thought this time it's gonna be good. And I mean, the whole pregnancy was just a nightmare. My daughter was born, and he, like, the first visit to hear the heartbeat, like, he was on his phone watching ESPN highlights. Like, he was so disconnected. He was yelling at me. I remember during my baby shower, like, he called me and was yelling at me because it took too long, and like, he was out there in the garage screaming at me while I was, like, carrying in my presents from the shower. And I just remember being so upset. I could never be happy wherever I was because I just had so much angst. Like I would always keep my phone, like, right here in my bra, because like, if I couldn't miss a call, And then he would do that thing where they punish you if you miss a call. They'll send you to voicemail or, turn off their phone and just go MIA for hours because you didn't pick up your phone in time. So, yeah, I mean, we did a few moves. I moved. He didn't help at all. I remember being 8 months pregnant. I was out there mowing the lawn. I was buying furniture. I was going thrift shopping for the nursery. And he just wasn't there. He was a bad father. And this is Father's Day.
I wonder why he was so on board for this pregnancy.
He wasn't. He was just telling me what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, maybe he felt like because of this thing that he had done, I have to be happy now.
Maybe, but he's a very unhappy person. Just choices that he's made in his life. He was very, very, very unhappy with his station in life. He always said he should have been scouted for baseball, and nobody ever gave him his attention, and just all the things that he should have been able to do. And that's another thing about him, and I think also is very textbook. Like, he would just always had this script of, like, everything everybody has done him wrong, and he would just, nothing that I could do was good because everything that, even down to the person who cut him off in the parking lot, he just always had his list of people that have done him wrong in his life, down to his high school baseball coach. Mm-hmm. And it was so tiring to hear the same stories over and over and over again. I was very much like, if you're looking for all this negative stuff, that's all you're ever going to see, and he was either unemployed or always working just kind of part-time restaurant jobs. So he had a lot of time to just ponder. And he wouldn't be thinking on the good things. He would be pondering bad things and conspiracy theories and aliens and, stuff. And I'm just like, here I am, pregnant, trying to work, pay all the bills, get the oil changed, change his car battery. And he wants to talk about aliens. And I'm just like, dude. Like, yeah,
it's like you're being the only adult in this dynamic.
The only adult taking care of the dogs. I mean, yeah. He literally. telling it now just sounds so silly. I was
Well, when you're
six
in
and a
it,
half years with him.
it's so isolating, and you get so used to what your life is. And I think the problem, when you're in an abusive relationship and you're living together and your finances are together, and say you were saying that this was around the time of the economy being so bad. I mean, that does play a part in things of feeling like, well, can I get out, or how would I even, like, say you're in a lease. I mean, there's so many reasons why these things are so much more complicated, and just make it feel cloudy to think about how would I even go about getting out of this.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, like I mentioned, I was taking care of all the responsibility, and I had a rotating shift, 12-hour work shift, which, at a food manufacturing plant, and it was just like 7 to 7 days and nights every 2 weeks. There's just no time to kind of like take stock of like, am I happy? Do I want to make a change in my life? No, I was literally just going through the days.
Yeah.
And so this takes me now. So my daughter was born, and that takes me to what I call the worst, the scariest night of my life I experienced with him, or day. I guess it was a morning. It was night to me because I'd slept all night or worked all night. But so my daughter was 3 months old, and I had packed her diaper bag the night before because I was going to work, and he was going to go to his parents' house, and I'm making dinner for myself and getting everything. When you're going to work all night long, there's a lot of things you have to get sorted, plus a brand new newborn. I had just gone back to work after like 2 or 3 weeks prior. And so this was a lot on him because he had to take care of the newborn now, right? Like, it's like the whole idea of like guys babysitting their own kids just blows me away.
I've known so many men like that in my life, and it's infuriating that they view it that way.
Right. So I had to tend to get myself ready, and then I had to get everything for her ready, bottles made, diapers, extra clothes, whatever it was, and pack all that. Turnkey baby, if you will. And
I'm going to set everything up so it's like dummy proof for you to watch your own kid.
Right. And so anyway, something happened while I was at work, and I guess I messed up and didn't pack enough diapers. Or it was diapers or diaper rash cream, something. And he called me, and of course, I think also there was, so he didn't even tell, this is another banger, he didn't even tell his family we were pregnant until she was like 3 weeks before she was born.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is unhinged.
Right.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah. He actually superseded that with my son. He didn't tell his family we had our son until he was 1 month old. So,
Wow.
But anyways, back to my daughter. So she was three months old. So life at his family's house was very, very drama and chaotic. And I could just hear all this yelling in the background, but I'm at work, and he called me and bitched me out for hours, like unloaded on me. I mean, it's kind of like he was getting yelled at by his mom, so he turns around and yells at me or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so he was taking it out all on me, and he says, I could strangle you right now, or I'm going to strangle the shit out of you, or something like that. It had never gotten that to us. He had never done that before to me, but I find it so chilling that he told me that he's going to do it. And so,
well, even that he's even thinking about it.
Right. Right. And I'm just really upset because he's got my 3-month-old baby. Like, that's a brand new baby, And so when you got somebody who's that upset with a baby in their care, I mean, I'm sure that I contemplated calling the cops on that. But, there had just been so many times that I've had to call the cops with him. And my work was not one where I could just leave my post. Like, it was the middle of the night, and I was the only one working in the lab, and I just had to believe that she was okay and she was safe. So, and I was just so strung out because he kept me up all night. He distracted me. I mean, this is what they also do, is they have no care or respect for your work.
Yeah.
They'll keep you on the phone whenever they want you to be on the phone. But anyways, so I come home, and I think this day I had the car because I remember he was still in bed when I got home. I checked on the baby. She was fine. And I picked her up, and I went in the bedroom, and he also had his son there. His son was 3 years old at the time. He was sleeping in the other room. And so I went in with the baby, and I was clearly upset about the night before, and I probably nudged him and woke him up abruptly or something. I was pissed. And I think I laid her down next to him or something. Anyways, I don't remember the verbal exchange, but he basically picked the baby up and tossed her to me and said, I don't want her anyways. And I grabbed her. She was I held her. She didn't fall. But it was just very, very rough with how you would handle. I mean, it was like a doll, you know. Mm-hmm. And then somehow he just lunged at me, and then I got on the bed, and I had her underneath me on the bed, and I was on all fours on top of her, and he was just wailing on me, just hitting, just like spanking me, but I had bruises all the way from my torso down to my thigh. And I remember looking over like it was slow motion, and his little 3-year-old son was standing in the doorway watching this. And with his little pajamas on. I mean, it just is heartbreaking, you know? Yeah. And then he got off me, and I picked the baby up, and then I ran into the bathroom, which, like they say, like in horror movies, like, why aren't you running to the front door? I don't know. I ran into the bathroom, and then that's when he put his hands around my neck and just banged my head against the wall a few times. Is this too much? Do you want me to tell every
absolutely
step?
not.
Okay.
Always share unfiltered.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I just remember he was just like seething in his mouth, like spitting and spewing, and just I don't even remember the words. I'm sure things like "fuck you, bitch," I'm gonna kill you, or whatever it was. I never lost consciousness that I know of. I know I broke a finger. I think I was trying to defend myself, but I had the baby in my hand. Like, how are you going to do that? Right? And so I got away from him, and then I started running out. We were on the second floor of the house, and then he followed me and got me into the hallway bathroom. I still have her in my hands. I've got my pajamas on. I had changed clothes. And then he literally grabbed me by like my genital area, like his hands, and picked me up and grabbed my feet, went out from under me, and just dropped me on the floor with her still in my hands. And I mean, when I say it was the most scariest night of my life, it's true. I mean, it's like he followed me. You know, there was three rooms that I was attacked in by him in our house. And I just I had her, we ran down the stairs, I grabbed my keys, and we just left. And I left him there with his son, which I felt so horrible for, but he wasn't mine to take, you know, and he's not my son. So, and I just drove all around. I didn't even have her diaper bag with me. It was just, I didn't even have a bra on. It was just frantic. And, you know, I went to a couple places. I didn't have a cell phone charger with me. And this was like before every gas station had car chargers and everything. Mm-hmm. So I remember stopping at my hair place where I get my hair salon and asking them to use the phone. And I think I called my mom at that point. And then I went to another friend's house, and I didn't call the cops. Like, after all that, you know what I was afraid of? I didn't call them because I was afraid that since I had called the cops on him before in the past for, you know, violent altercations, that they would say that I was putting my child in danger and that I would end up getting in trouble.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so crazy, but I was convinced that, like, I'm like, well, I have put her in danger because I knew that he was so upset and he's, whatever, and that I would somehow get in trouble too. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, at the time you didn't know how to handle it. Like you were saying from the beginning, it's not like you grew up with domestic violence or knew how these protocols worked or how this could possibly come back onto you.
And I also was very afraid that it would impact for his other son.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a lot. I was trying to protect him. I mean, protect him and protect me, but a lot of it was protecting him too. So, and I know that's what a lot of other women do.
Yeah. Because it feels like, well, once you make that call, it can't be undone. I mean, I never called until I went back and filed for a divorce,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that whole idea of it can't be undone is scary.
It is.
Yeah, because then they take it out of their hands.
It's going to change your life.
And they take it out of their hands. You can't say, oh, I don't want to press charges. They're like, no, the state's going to press charges. It's not you against him, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and so at that time, yes, he did move out. I made him move out, but within a month, he was back. He cried. I remember sitting in the floor of my nursery with my daughter, and he was crying, and I was crying, and we convinced my mom to be okay to let him come back with us, because she had moved back in with me after that because I didn't have help. And yeah, he came back. I still had bruises, I think, and he was back in. But
that is one of the most horrific situations I've ever heard. I mean, were you afraid that he was going to take your life that night, or were you just focused on, I need to get out of this house?
I think at the time, gosh, I don't know. I think I did say he almost killed me. I think I do. I think I did say that to my mom. But it was just I was stunned. I was so stunned. It was the most violent he had ever been towards me, on a factor of like 50, I had bruises before. I mean, one time when I was pregnant, I forgot to say, I was in the shower, and he got so mad at me, and he was like, I'm going to punch you in the stomach right now. And of course I was crying, and I was like in the wall. I was against the wall, naked, pregnant. And he just put his hands on my head and like scratched my face all up. And I said that the dog had stepped on my face, but he was like, no, nobody can hear you scream here and stuff. So it was just like, it was bad.
He's such a monster.
He is a monster.
Evil. Just an evil being.
But he never experienced anything to that factor before. But I mean, I guess, but then I hear a lot of women say, well, if he hit me, then I know I would end it. I know I would call. But you don't know you would. I mean, once you're that deep in, there's a brainwash, there's a fog, you think you love them, you think that you can't live without them, and it's no guarantee you will call.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went on, and then of course, I'm busy with a newborn and a young toddler and stuff. But I will say that he went like 2.5 years and didn't lay a hand on me again. He didn't touch me again until I was pregnant again.
Which you hear that a lot too. That it triggers. I have a friend who was in an abusive relationship, and it was the same thing. He was the worst when she was pregnant and when she was going through postpartum. But he really kept it together when she wasn't. Yeah.
I think I've heard there's lots of reasons, of course, but I think that they really lose control of you when you're pregnant, and you're going to the doctor more often, and there's more eyes on you, and people are like catering more towards the mom than the dad.
So like the narcissistic, they can't handle that it's all about you.
That could be a part of it. Yeah, for sure. So
how did you end up making your way out of this relationship?
Right. So when I got pregnant with my son, we had actually broken up, and he made his way over to the house, not uninvited. I'm sure I invited him, but it was a situation where I don't really quite recall it being an assault situation, but my mom tells me that I told her it was at that time. And so, meaning like I didn't want to go, do that. But I think that's very, very possible that was the case, but I think that there's been some trauma amnesia for me there. But regardless, we have my son, and we really weren't quite together during my pregnancy with him. We were gonna try to make it work, but we still weren't living together. And so when I had my son, like I said, he didn't tell his whole family we were even pregnant. He kept it a secret. I couldn't post anything. Although this was in 2012, so I wasn't even on Facebook, and it was fairly,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was still MySpace age or not, but it was fine. I didn't post anything. I don't know why I agreed to that being okay. I mean, it just burns me up. Like, he wouldn't even let me pick a name. Like, he never even wanted to talk about a name for the baby until the day before he was born. I was like, we have to pick a name,
Yeah.
It was just horrible. And I do, like, I've made some posts about this, but it's just like, I have a hard time because I know that sometimes I have a little bit of, I don't want to say jealousy, but I guess there is a bit about me that's a little jealous when I see other women that have the pregnancy and childbirth experience that we all dream about having, growing up, the push present. I mean, all mine did was just go out and smoke weed while I was in the hospital and come in and just sit there, like, there was no present for me. like I said, I didn't get foot rubs. I didn't get anything. And I know a lot of women get the same like me too. So I'm not trying to feel sorry for myself. But I do know, I mean, I'm never having another child. So these are my...
It's valid to grieve what you should have gotten, which you didn't with him.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we had him, and I had my tubes tied at that time because I'm like, I knew that I was not going to have another baby with him, but I didn't know when and how I was going to get out of it with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I love my son. He completes my family, of course, but I did not want to have any more children with this guy.
Yeah.
And so I made the decision to have my tubes tied at that time. And then, having the baby, and of course, we also would go to church. So, I know that's a big part of your background as well.
Yeah.
And so I would go to church, and this is a guy who, whenever he would go to church, at the end when they ask if you want to give your life to Christ, or if you want to, reestablish your relationship and recommit, he would be in tears, and he would always raise his hand, and I would be like, oh, he's gonna try now. It's good, it's like a reset button, like every week, or every 2 weeks or whatever, whenever I would get him to go. And so that's another way that he kind of kept me on the hook, is like, listen, his relationship with God is his thing. So I'm not going to say it was false or not real, but I will say that I think that he would play me in the sense that he knew that I yearned for that. Like, I yearned to have a relationship that was rooted in Christ, and we were equally yoked, and we were going to parent our children like that, and I think he played that card with me. And so, but what got it for me was, we went to church one day, and we went to lunch afterwards, which we love to do. And he got upset about something, like he always did. I mean, every day I was like, what now? I could never have emotions. I think that's another thing that a lot of women probably relate to, is like, he's up and down and you have to just stay steady.
Yeah. You can't have the same fluctuation that he has.
No, you cannot. You cannot fly off the handle. You have to be calm. You have to just keep the water steady, and just wait for him. So he had an explosion at the restaurant, and my daughter was 3. Okay, like, beautiful young girl, but she's old enough now that we're like, we need to watch our words around her.
Yeah.
And he often said was, I never even wanted these kids to begin with. I never wanted these kids anyway. I mean, he says it, he used to say it all the time. And it was a moment, it was almost like, I'm glad he said it, because it like literally, it was like, if you are so, you care so little in front of your daughter, your only daughter, to say that in front of her, and you don't even care about the potential impact that would be for her to hear that from her dad, then you're a monster, and this is over. Like, any little bit of hope that I had, this is over. And so, I just made the choice then that it was going to be over. Now, that was probably in like May, and we didn't get out until July. And of course, then it really escalated. He was very upset. I mean, it was really weird, because it was like, he didn't want the kids, but he didn't want me to break up and leave him, because he already has one failed, like, he already has a kid that he's not living with and he's not parenting. And so it looks bad for him to have 2 more that he doesn't have. So it was like, because I was like, look, we can find a way. I'm not trying to take them away from you. Like, we can do that. And he was like, no, if we're not going to be together as like a family, then I don't want any of you. Okay, great. That's cool.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. And it got really dramatic in the end. He slashed my tires. I went out to my patio. I used to smoke cigarettes. I don't anymore. So I'm smoke free, but I used to smoke. Yay. So I would go out and smoke. And I remember kind of like, talking to somebody I had met, just like you do. I know now that it's not good to try to get out and date so quickly, but I was lost and just lonely. And so I was talking to this new guy on the phone, and I lived in a 1st floor apartment, and this dude, my ex, was on the ground in the bushes outside my apartment.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of Alissa's powerful story. We're going to hit pause on episode 1, but part 2 will be available for you to listen to now. In part 2, we will continue our conversation, and we will dive into how Alissa was able to rebuild her life and reclaim places that she once had to flee from. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Healdish, and I will see you for part 2.